Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about variation number 20 of Rachmaninoff's Corelli variations. This is it. This is the final variation that we have. We will have one more video after this because there is a slight coda that Rachmaninoff ends the piece with, but this is the last variation that Rachmaninoff wrote for this piece, and boy is it a big one. So let's jump right in. We were discussing over the last 2 days how each variation, from variation 18, speeds up in tempo. So 18, you go to 19, and 19 is a little faster. Well, now 19 going into 20 bumps up the tempo even more. So it's just this big, massive crescendo in terms of tempo. And it makes this variation so thrilling. So let's talk about what's going on here. First, it looks quite sparse. But you'll notice that the rhythm throughout the entire variation is the exact same. It's bum, 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 bum. Kind of like what was introduced in variation 18, and we also had some of this in variation 19. But this texture that Rachmaninoff uses is very different than both of the two previous variations. First, I want to just show you what's happening in terms of melody and harmony. First, the melody, don't worry about it. You're not going to really find it here. But you will find the harmony. And we've been talking about the harmonies throughout this entire piece. So we know D minor going to A, D minor going to C, C going to F, and then F coming back to D minor in some way. Well, if I simplify what's going on here and play just octaves, 4 notes, 2 big octaves, let's hear what Rachmaninoff has in store. Can you hear D moving to A, D moving to C, C moving to F? It's all right there. And this is exactly what Rachmaninoff is doing, just in octaves. Now he adds more challenges by having those octaves occur throughout the entire piano registers. So let me put them in their proper octaves now. So that harmonic motion from the theme is ever present here. But man, is he making us do a workout because he's moving those octaves all over the place. Now, to make matters even more difficult, he adds this little ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, right? And that's always going to be this interval of a sixth. So you play an octave, and then you play a sixth. And if you look at the distance between the lowest note and the highest note, it makes a tenth. So all of his harmonies here are really outlining a tenth. But pianists, we don't often think about playing in tenths because it makes our hand too big and then we get really tense. So we'll play an octave and think of a sixth. But notice what he does here with these sixths. He actually changes our harmonies from what we're expecting. So D minor, we get an A here. We're expecting A major, but look at the notes he writes. That's an F major chord. Now we get this decoration, which is that C moving to a C sharp chromatically. And then we finally get to our A major chord. So you can tell throughout all of this that he's really playing with the changing of harmonies and the changing of textures, and now the changing of octaves and registers all over the keyboard. If I play this at full tempo, you'll get an idea of what these first few measures sound like. Alright, it's all over the place. And because it's in D minor, most of the keys are white. So trying to be as clear as possible without playing, a wrong note is so difficult because it's hard to play white keys. It's much easier to play black keys because they're smaller and they're not touching any other keys. So Rachmaninoff just gives us so many challenges in this variation. When we get to the second half of the variation, remember our theme always comes in two parts, so this will come in two parts as well. Rachmaninoff changes it a little bit. So instead of going like this, and I'll play the simplified octave version. Instead of doing that, listen to the inner notes that he uses. It's so subtle, but just some of those off notes give this really disturbed sound. Now if I put those in the proper octaves, you'll get an idea of what it's supposed to sound like. So it's just all over the place, and it's really, really incredible. When we get to the F in the second half of the variation, we expect it to go to D minor pretty quickly, but because this is the last variation, he's really going to stretch this as the big climax of the entire piece. Everything has been building towards this moment. So let me simplify what's going on here. I won't play the exact rhythms, but just so you can hear the harmonies and the movements and how we get to this big climax. Is that D minor? We expect it to be, but no, not quite yet. And this is the build that we're waiting for. Half step raise. Another half step raise. The final half step raise. Finally our A's resolve to D minor. And then we have this massive waterfall of chords. And it's just epic. So this is the Rachmaninoff way of ending things, with these harmonies. Goes for it. The last few moments here are some of my favorites. This movement here right before these big D octaves. If you look at the bass movement, it's all chromatic. And it's awesome. And then the chords in the right hand, let me play it slowly because you don't really hear them. And he adds a hemiola here. Bum ba-dum bum ba-dum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum 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 bum bum ga-ga-da-ga. And it's just, I don't know, it's just an amazing way to end this piece. We think it may be over, but these Ds, they're going to lead us into our coda, which we'll talk about tomorrow. And that'll be the end of the piece. But this is the conclusion. This is the climax. The coda is just a way of releasing all of this tension, so it doesn't just end abruptly. So let me go ahead and play all of variation number 20 for you. It's really, really difficult, and after coming out of variation 19, which is already really difficult, this just ups the ante even more. So this is variation number 20. And that is Variation 20, the final variation of the piece. Come back tomorrow and we'll discuss how, after this massive climax, Rachmaninoff just eases tension slowly through a one-page coda. And that coda we'll talk about tomorrow. So I'll see you then. Thanks.